Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 146. All our dreams come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Walt Disney.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my indie film hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your exhausted and humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Hollywood Camera Work. If you guys are interested in learning how to direct actors and become a actor's director, Hollywood Camera Work has developed an amazing master course called Directing Actors. And it is almost 30 hours. And I've taken this course, and it is by far the most comprehensive directing actors course I have ever seen. So if you want to get access to this course, head over to hollywoodcamerawork.com and use the coupon code HUSTLE to get 30% off. That's hollywoodcamerawork.com and use the coupon code HUSTLE. Today's show is also sponsored by Inside the Edit. If you guys want to learn about editing and the creative process of editing, there is no better resource than Inside the Edit. Now, the creator of it, Patty Bird, has been a multiple-time guest on Indie Film Hustle. He's well-respected by Avid, by the Editors Union, by everybody. I mean, what he's been able to put together is absolutely remarkable. So if you want to get more information about that, head over to InsideTheEdit.com and use the coupon code HUSTLE to get 25% off. That's InsideTheEdit.com and use the coupon code HUSTLE for 25% off. So, guys, this is a special episode. It's a special Cinequest edition of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I just got back from, literally just landed yesterday from Cinequest, from the world premiere of This Is Meg, and I can't tell you how amazing, what an amazing experience, and that it was to watch our little movie that we shot in 8 days, projected in a huge theater, monster theater, must have been able to fit 200 or 300 people. And as you can hear, my voice is a little hoarse from the partying, networking, and just overall experience of Cinequest, which, by the way, if you guys are filmmakers, and Cinequest is a awesome festival to submit to. It is really, really filmmaker friendly, and they treated us like gold, man. I tell you, I've been at other festivals that they treat filmmakers like absolute crap, and which will remain nameless. But this festival was wonderful. Cinequest had someone there for our Q&A at every screening and made sure that we were well taken care of. So definitely, if you guys are filmmakers and want to submit to a festival, shorts or features, I'm giving a free shout out to Cinequest. They did not pay me to do that. They did not ask me to do that. I really am a big fan of the festival. And again, big shout out to Cinequest. Thank you so much for all your hospitality and for screening This Is Meg. And it was a great experience. And I got to have a bunch of the This Is Meg cast together for the premiere. And we were all hanging out in San Jose for Cinequest. So I was like, hey, why don't we get together and, let's go to a hotel room. Let's go to our hotel room and let's do a podcast real quick. And let's all sit down and talk about the festival. Let's talk about Meg and film in general. And my gosh, the stories that came out when you get 5 actors together plus me, it was definitely an interesting experience, to say the least. Now, if you guys are listening to this podcast with children in the vicinity, I would say don't put it out loud, because it does get a little bit blue. The humor gets a little bit blue, a little bit crass sometimes. We were all having a good time, but a lot of good information is in there, believe it or not. And it's really entertaining and really funny. And I also wanted to thank all the tribe members that came out to support This Is Meg. And there was a handful of you guys. And please forgive me if I don't say your name, but 2 guys that I really sat down and talked to for a bunch is Tony now please, Tony, forgive me with the pronunciation, but Tony Gapastoni from the Creative Crew RWC, and you can also reach them at Creative Crew RWC at Twitter. And Tony, man, thank you so much for bringing out your students, your buddies, and it was awesome to talk to you. And the Perez brothers, man. Thank you for coming out. You can reach them, and they're doing some really cool stuff as well at Perez Brother, BROS, on Twitter. And for everybody, I know a bunch of you guys came out and, we're saying thank you so much for the podcast, and it meant so much to you guys. I really do appreciate you guys coming out. And I wish you guys would have stick around a little bit more and talk to me. I would have loved to just talk to all of you guys for hours and hours. But again, thank you so much for coming out and supporting This Is Meg. It means a tremendous amount to me. So thank you. And we're also doing a cross promotion or a cross pollination, if you will, of a podcast. Lahna Turner, who's one of our stars in This Is Meg, she actually has a very popular podcast in the comedy world called Perfect 10. And I'm going to be guest starring on her podcast soon, and she's going to actually be doing a real full-blown guest appearance on this podcast as well. But we wanted to kind of just share this podcast with both of our audiences. So I will be putting links to her podcast in the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/146. And she's going to be playing this exact same podcast on her podcast as well. But if you want to take a listen, she has amazing guests, super funny. If you haven't checked her out, I'll put links to all of her cool stuff. She just came out with a visual comedy album called Limeade, which is a spinoff of or an homage to Lemonade by Beyonce. But anyway, guys, I wanted to bring everybody together, and the guest on the show will be, of course, Jill Michelle Meleán, Lahna Turner, Holly Wortell, Ruben Dario, and Joseph Reitman. And also, guys, I know a lot of you have been asking ever since we had the world premieres, like, when are we going to see it? When are we going to see it? Where can we get it? Where can we get it? We are going to be releasing it through Distribber, and I'm going to show you, we're going to go through an entire thing on Distribber and how we're doing it. But we're going to be hopefully releasing it on iTunes in the summer. And that way, and believe me, you will know when that happens, because we're going to be doing a big campaign, and I'm going to tell you guys all about it in a future episode. But it's going to be pretty exciting, and if we're able to pull off what I think we can pull off, my God, it will be a hell of a blueprint for you guys to follow with your films. So I'm hoping that it works, but we'll get into that later. But without any further ado, enjoy my conversation with the crazy cast of This Is Meg.
Made glorious summer by the son of York.
I do wee, way, wow, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what I do? Fuck you!
We're recording already.
I am.
We're recording?
I hit 5 minutes ago. No, I'm joking. I just turned it on I actually turned it on 20 seconds ago.
Are we really recording?
Yeah, 20 seconds ago. I recorded.
That's perfect.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
This is
Shut your mouth.
Alex. We're doing the Perfect 10 podcast. It's again another cross pollination. I just did one of these a few weeks ago with another podcast, so I think it's perfect because it's like I introduce your podcast, you introduce mine to your listeners, and it's like
absolutely,
and it's so cool.
So we're here. With the cast, parts of the cast of This Is Meg at Cinequest. So
Just like an arm and a leg.
An arm and a leg.
Important parts of the cast.
Obviously, because you're here. No, so I thought, like, hey, let's throw a little improv podcast together and talk a little bit about our experiences of Meg and our experiences here at Cinequest. So I'm going to go around. And then we also are doing two podcasts at the same time. Obviously, the Indie Film Hustle podcast, who you're listening to it now, and also the Perfect 10 podcast.
Which you're listening to now.
So everyone go around and introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Lahna Turner, so if you're listening to my podcast, you know who I am, right? So that's cool.
And who do you play in?
I play Angel.
Yes.
Yes, and my character is like this... I don't even know how to describe me.
Let's go introduce everybody and then we'll talk.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Next.
Hi, I'm Joseph Reitman. I play Eric.
He's going through puberty.
Hi, Ruben Dario, also going through puberty, and I play Al.
Holly Wortell, I play Susan Walker, a mean casting director.
That was so wonderful. You sold that. I love that. And then it's me, Jill Michelle Meleán. I play Meg.
Yes. And then Mr. Jack is here, but he's being a little bit of a diva and does not want to talk.
His publicist said, not today. He's not getting paid. I'm like, really? Yeah. But he's on my lap and he's in it and he's licking. And now he's going to take a nap. So,
Jill, what's Jack thinking? What would he say?
Jack would go, okay, guys.
guys, it's Mr. Jack here from This Is Meg. I just want to say I love Cinequest.
Oh, God.
I've had to deal with this for 6 months of this crap with the dog. No, I'm joking.
That is not Jack's voice.
That is not Jack's. Jack talks like this.
Jack.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now, back to the show.
Jack might very well be secretly planning to kill us all with a sweet little face.
She's doing the long game, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, and Jack is a King Charles dog, for those of you who don't know.
Oh, no, everybody who knows anything about Meg knows about Jack.
All the
of course.
indie film hustle people definitely know
About Jack. Yes.
And also Lahna, on my podcast, Jill Michelle Meleán has been on The Perfect 10 many times, and she always brings Jack along.
Of course.
So yeah,
Of
Jack
course.
is synonymous with you.
Yes, he
Yes,
is.
he's your baby.
So we had our world premiere last night, or yesterday. It was super fun. Joe still hungover.
Yeah. Being high on life.
Exactly.
Hanging out with the dance moms in the lobby.
Yeah.
We missed something.
Yeah,
That was fun.
there actually is some sort of convention with dance moms down in the lobby of our hotel. So it's
We have a volleyball championship of like teenagers
Yes.
and dance moms. The whole dance crew. There's lots of glitter and lots of poo-poos and all kinds of stuff. Oh, and then of course the brothers that come along that are the bratty brothers that push all the buttons on the elevator.
okay. Let's not go.
And what's great is everyone got a trophy because everyone deserves a trophy.
That's right, because we're all winners. That's the it's like in the film business. There is no competition. We're all winners.
Oh, right.
All actors get all the parts all the time.
Exactly. But I'll tell you, it was really cool to watch Meg on that big screen in the theater. It looked amazing.
It was a huge theater too. It was a huge screen.
And to hear, because it's only been us that have seen it, or the screening, and this was like with strangers that don't know who any of us are, and to hear where they laughed so much, and I really was like, I was so proud, and I genuinely was laughing. I hadn't seen it in a couple weeks.
I actually told Jill last night, you were Robert De Niro on Cape Fear. All he needed was that's literally was laughing in the back of the theater. Like
It was interesting watching the screening because I know that we all think that we're wonderful, but it was so nice to see other people who thought it too.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go around a little bit and talk about your part and your experience, like what your experience was working on This Is Meg and the unique scenario that we were put into. So, Jill, we've talked to you a lot about this, so we'll go through
Yeah,
the
please.
Holly?
Well, one thing is it was a really easy, fun shoot, which was wonderful. I brought a zillion clothes. It was fun just having you guys rent. I think I overdid it, but it was nice. It was nice having the layout, the outline for the character, and some lines that I could use and did use. And I guess you guys filling me in with the story, and it was really fun to improvise within a framework.
Holly, you were such a bitch. That was what was so great. Like, you came out at the beginning of the first thing she does is she meets Meg, and Meg's like a struggling actress. And Meg is so looking forward to meeting this casting director. And you played such a hardcore bitch. You were so hateable. And then it was amazing to see your character transform, because it's so Hollywood.
To tell the listeners, Holly and everybody, I'll totally fill in their credits, but Holly is, she's from like Return to Me, the Bonnie Hunt show. She's done a million like television shows. We met on Big Time Rush together, and then we've been like pretty much sisters since then. And I have to tell you, she was like, the casting directors haven't been that mean to me. I don't know what you're talking about, Jill. I really don't get it. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience where somebody was just awful in the room?
I really feel like the casting agents I've been to have been very nice and have really truly wanted me to get the role. I've had them say to me, we just want you to solve our problem, be the character. What I really pulled from to be such a bitch was a director that I worked with who I remember, instead of giving me a note and saying what he wanted me to do, he would imitate me with what I did that he didn't like. And
Mocking you.
Yes, and say, don't do, blah, 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 blah. Let's go again. And I thought, well, he just imitated me doing what he doesn't want me to do, and that's what's in my head. And now he wants me to go forward with what? Like, give me a note. So that's what I pulled from. I thought, I'm going to do that to Meg. Just give her the most horrible note and give her nothing. and help and not help her in the audition at all. And like I said, thankfully, I've really had a casting agent help me. But that was a director that was mean.
Can we play the guessing game of who the director is?
I think that to be a casting agent is actually a really hard job, and I think that it has to. I mean, you have to feel bad, like telling somebody that knowing that they are not good at what they're trying to do. It's got to be. I don't know. I feel for people trying to cast because that seems like.
I don't. I think at our level, though, everyone that comes in is really good, so be nice to them. So when
you had the experience, or what does that mean?
That's why I wrote it, because I've had...
What happened?
I've had a few. I mean, my career, it's been a long career, and so you're going to encounter that. The majority of them are nice. They want you to get the role. Absolutely. But there are, sometimes you catch them on a bad day or something's happened to them in their life, and they take it out on you. I've had some that... I've walked in and they're like, any questions? And I go, yeah, is there something that you guys don't want that you're seeing? Because it was so specific, the thing. And I understand that sometimes when people come in and they keep hitting that one note, they're like, oh. And I go, is there something specific you guys don't want to see? And I was asking him a question, and he looks up at me and he goes, oh my gosh. He goes, yeah, I do have something. Don't suck.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And I did the scene, and he was like, thank you, goodbye. And I was just like, okay.
The audition was like already over.
It was done. It was done I'm like, why is he even having me read at this point? It was out of courtesy that wasn't even but so that's why I wanted to.
So ridiculous.
No, it's still kind to me.
Is it? Joe, please tell me.
Joe,
my stories are horrific.
What's the worst one, Joe, that's ever happened to you?
I've had a few horrible ones, but the one that kind of sticks out of mind right now today, and it's weird because it wasn't overtly cruel directly at me, except for the fact that this casting director called me in his office. He waves me in as he's on the phone, as he's making an offer to another actor for the role I'm about to audition.
Oh, wow.
No.
Yes. All right? And he finishes up and makes the offer to the actor, right? Hangs up, and I go, he'll be great. That's what I said, right? And then he goes, Joe, before we start, I just want to say, you being here is a testimony to how hard your agents work for you. Because I did not want to see you for this. I don't think you're right for this. I don't think you should be here. Right? He's like, but they busted their ass and they made sure you're here. So why don't we get this over with and just get it done, okay?
Oh, wow.
That's brutal.
And people don't understand. You take time, you memorize these lines, you get in your car, you're talking to yourself all night. The night before, you can't go out. You're talking to yourself all night, rehearsing. You wake up, you're rehearsing. Do you get to the audition, you sit in traffic, you get there and you do it. And then you're like, to be shut down, like you're like, I hate myself and I hate every choice I've made in life. It's very depressing.
It's brutal. I mean, anytime I'm in a casting and I'm casting somebody, I always try to be nice because it's brutal. I look at it from my point of view as a director. I can't do what you guys do. Like the brutality of putting yourselves out there in a raw fashion and just come out and just like, and it's 9 out of 10 times it has nothing to do with you. Like if you don't get the part, it really sometimes you just don't look the part. It's not the person I have in my head. It's just like, I'm sorry, it's just not you, or you didn't come with the right energy. So, and then it's like, and the actor goes back like, oh, I just didn't work hard. I'm like, no, it's just you never had a chance because you just weren't that part in the director's head. Right. And that's why you guys have to, actors have to build that skin and just kind of roll with it and go with it. So, but you always be nice, even when I know they're not going to get it. Right. I always go through the motions. I'm like, okay, let's talk, and I try to be as nice, and because they took the time to come out, so I'm like, at least be courteous.
I haven't done a whole lot of auditioning in my career. It just, to me, it's equivalent of like a dry finger in the ass. Like it's not something that I would.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. That's how I do audition all the time. I took it. I love blood. What? Yeah. No, it just seems like you're constantly gambling and putting yourself out, and I don't know, it's not my thing. But when I first moved to LA, I took an auditioning class, and so everybody in the room, and you paid a good amount of money for this, and some casting guy who had like a resume that included I used to cast shows at Fox or whatever. I don't know who he was, but I knew he was a dick because he comes out, he's and everyone's auditioning, and I paid money for this thing and I did my part, and he was like, next. He was really rude to me, but every hot young little boy this guy was so into, and there was one kid in particular that he was gushing over, and I was like, that guy is totally macking on this young boy, and he was a creepy old dude too. And it was and I just wanted to stand up and go. So you're showing me the casting couch, which is crazy. Have you guys ever had a casting couch encounter?
I wish.
Yeah.
I got a good horror story though, because I was talking horror stories. So I was telling Holly last night about this director, and for a commercial callback, it's kind of like protocol. You wear the same outfit you wore the first call, like you always play to the lowest denominator.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
In the room. And I wore it was for a banker, and I wore a total suit, and it was supposed to be New York, so I wore a scarf under the suit. And I wore it for the audition or for the first call, and the callback, I get there, and the director is a big director, and he's got movies out now. And now I see it, and I'm so mad because I don't like him because he was such a dick. Can I say dick?
Yeah.
She just said finger in the ass.
Oh, right.
Dick away.
So in the room, before we even started, he goes, "Take that scarf off, you're creeping me out." And he did it. I thought he was doing a bit, so I ripped it off as a joke, and I threw him there. How's that? Thinking he was joking,
Right.
And he's like, "Are you giving me attitude right now?" And I said, "Oh no, I thought you were joking. You were being serious." He's like, "Yeah, I take my job seriously, and so should you." And I could just see it spiraling out of control.
God,
And
yeah.
I'm like, "Buddy, I thought you were joking. This is," and it just it kept getting worse. And then
Remember he said lose the attitude.
I lose the attitude. And I was like, "You're literally yelling at me right now, telling me to lose attitude." And then at that point, I was like, I know I was going to get the job. And
How?
so,
I didn't know.
That was your dry finger in the ass.
yes, it was. He literally did one line,
That's
you're
awful.
not to give a spoiler, but one line. "Okay, thank you," and I was out of the room.
So Ruben,
dick.
since we're here now with you,
Yes.
how was your experience on Meg?
But about the same of the story I just told you. No, it was so great. I mean, Jill is so right when she says she literally called her friends, and I got a call, and I said yes, and I came, and it was great. It was just so fun.
What did you expect when you walked in the door? Because Jill basically, we never let anybody have the full story.
No.
Right.
Everyone just had their scene, so it was all mysterious. You literally just showed up. You're like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do today.
I was nervous because I'm an editor in the film, and I know nothing about editing at all, zero. My son knows more on my phone than I do,
Right.
and he's 5. I was more nervous about the technical aspect of it because I knew Jill and I could just riff, and you said for me to be snarky, and that's was really hard for me to do. But the whole technical editing and how much of the computer stuff you were going to use, any of the editing jargon, I was.
And then I told you, hit the space bar.
Right.
And hit the space bar again to stop.
Then that's about
That's
it.
all you need to do.
Just pretend you've been living in a dark cavern for years with no social.
And it's funny because I've had editors watch the movie and they just looked like, oh God, the editor was great.
Yeah. It was perfect. It was perfect.
Ruben,
casting.
it's funny because we met for 10 minutes, and
We
then I
did.
was in pasties.
Yes, we did. I did see that part of the script of the girl, and they didn't even have. I don't think it was pasties originally. It was nude. They just said, or I just read it in my mind. Nude.
Maybe I think you read it in your
And when I
mind.
was showing to my wife, and I was like, she's like, "Wait, you're doing what?" I'm like, "No, it's comedy. It's chill." It was just weird.
We're going to this house.
We're going to the valley.
Burbank.
In the valley.
We're going to the valley. There's a little house in the back of a house. There's some nudity. It'll be fine.
It's chill. I've never done anything like that
Yeah.
before for me. So I'm I meet these people, I don't know any of them, and within a few minutes I have to get into this character to which I've never had any experience either. So
And what's cool is that we didn't put that in the trailer. That was actually a discussion that Alex
No,
and
I won't.
had.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah,
do
you
that.
don't put it in the
And then
trailer.
now that we finally released one of the promo pictures,
Yeah, that's the one
everyone's
promo
going
pic.
nuts,
Right.
and it's so great because I was like, yeah, because he goes, "Are you sure?" And I go, "No, now's the
No, I
time."
asked.
Yeah.
I was like, should we
Yeah,
do
he
that?
did.
I was nervous to post the picture because I really sat on it for a couple of hours and thought, do I want to put this picture on my feed? And then of course, it's not that far off from other things I've posted. in my life.
Right.
So it's okay, but yeah,
We wanted, yeah, and that's why we're talking about
it's
because before we
attention
did
getting.
It's so
No,
great.
it definitely is attention getting without question. But we had conversations about
Yeah, we did.
about
And it was-
pasties and about
It was
what
very
we did.
strategic on when to release certain things. and because Meg is so layered, even though it's such a I want to call it a simple story because it's based on my life, but I know I'm not simple. So
no, she is not at all, Joe.
But
she is not simple.
Okay, good.
There's many layers to Jill Michelle.
And I'll tell you, my friends are so darn talented, right? And it's like, what was cool about not releasing the whole script to everybody was it was on purpose. And I learned that from other shows I've worked on because so many things change when you have awesome improvisers. When like we were shooting yours, there were certain things that you said and like Lahna said that now Joe won't have to say.
You were say who you're talking to?
Oh, I was talking to Ruben and to Lahna, like certain things that Ruben or Lahna would say when we were improvising. I go, okay, now Joe doesn't have to say that because we got that from here. So let's move the story. Let's change some things. So it was really cool.
Just cut Joe's part down.
Right.
Everything that happened.
We're gonna
get rid of Joe.
Stole your lines.
On that, let's have Joe have some spotlight right now.
So Joe,
Yeah.
how was it when Joe called?
Well, you know, I mean, like she said, she called all her friends and offered them jobs, and they all said yes, except for the guy who had my role. And I guess all the people.
Who Jill's best friend?
Right. So I guess all the people asked her to be their best friend said no until she got to me.
Just like a casting agent, she looked at you and went,
She finally said, "Oh, he's the last
I'm on the
guy."
phone with this other guy, but I'll try you out.
Everyone said no. I guess we have to use
Your
Joe.
agent told us to have you here, so that's why we.
Yeah.
Your agent really pushed you.
No, but Jill. I mean, I play Jill's best friend, and Jill and I are best friends. So like, and it was ridiculous. We shot a bunch of stuff, and we would sit there after you were shooting and look at each other and be like, God, this is just us doing what we normally do on a Tuesday. Like, we're just like sitting here being idiots, you know?
And that's the reason why it looks so natural in general. It just look there. That's a chemistry you cannot construct.
That's why I mean, it would be such a beautiful goal or a transition to move this into a television series. We were saying we would just show up and do what we do all the time at home and have a blast doing it.
On a Tuesday, you guys get pitched threesomes?
If Krista's around.
Tell me more about this.
Our basic behavior, I mean, I think it's based a lot on our lives and the kind of stuff that we go through, but, you know, Jill and I didn't talk too much about what we were going to do either at all. We kind of like sat there and discussed, like she said, the 2 or 3 things that needed to be said, made sure that it was covered, and it got covered. And then other than that, we just kind of acted like idiots, which is when we have dance-offs and act like,
We just had an awesome dance-off the other night. After we watched Hidden Figures, the music was so good that we were...
Because when you watch Hidden Figures, you think dance-off.
Oh, totally. When Pharrell comes on, we was like, the movie was over, I was like, that was my favorite movie this year. And then, because we were watching a screener in my house, and all of a sudden the music starts going, and I was like, I started moving my shoulders, and I stood up, and it was literally, we were 10 minutes sweaty. And we had done this amazing dance number, just improvised in the living room.
We love the theater dancing. The kids and I took them to see.
Yeah, see, it's great.
Totally. Yeah, it's a great film.
But Joe and I, that's what we're just a bunch of goofballs. Like, that's what we do. So to capture it on film, it was like, this is awesome, you know?
Yeah. And like you said, the idea of like, if we were able to listen to a series, which is what be fantastic to do.
Sure.
It'd be great to show up every day and just kind of sit there. Yeah, just be us sitting on the couch doing whatever we're doing, running around, being idiots.
Getting paid.
Not having memorized lines, just show up and just say whatever we're thinking.
Yeah.
It's like, yay!
So I had a question. I've been asking. I wanted to ask all the actors this. Jill knows me obviously for a long time, and Jill has trust in my abilities as a director. When she told you guys about this project, many of you guys didn't know who I was. So at what point did you just like, yeah, we'll go along with this? Because you do have to trust. You trust Jill, but at a certain point you got to trust a director who's going to be. And I was also the DP, and I was also everything else I was doing. So you have to trust that this person's going to take care of you. So what was like? How did you guys? What was your experience like that? Like, how did you say, yeah, okay?
Oh, that's easy.
It was easy. Met you and I was like, big mistake.
But I've committed.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. It's too late now. Can't back on, Jill.
Whenever somebody pitches a project, I always assume with 99% that it's probably not going to happen.
Fast forward,
Yeah.
pasties.
I just said, but she didn't tell me what the character was. She just said, I'm writing something. If I'd like you to be in it. Would you be down? And I'm like, sure. It's never going to happen. That's always my answer.
There's 1,000 of those calls.
You get
month,
so much stuff kind of out there percolating. But if enough stuff is percolating, something might actually come to fruition. And with Jill, it's most likely that it is because she's a badass bitch, right? But then when she called me up to talk to me about what the the character was and what she needed for it, that's when it got really fun. Because she said, would you mind? And I could hear in her voice she was really nervous to ask because like,
do you mind? I'm just thinking. Like, it was like that kind of like
knowing that I would say no, probably.
Well, I wanted to see what you were comfortable with, so I didn't know even where to start. Like, just to go full on. Like, you just want to put your hair around your
that
chest,
was the first thing. Yeah, that's right. You said originally I think it was nude.
Yeah,
and she wanted me to have the hair because
then
there's the picture of me like that already.
And then I think
there.
we discussed. We said
no, we were on the phone because we were both on our computer separately, and I said, well, what we talked about about pasties.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Yes.
And so we started looking at the same time, Googling, and then sending each other links to pasties.
Oh, we should see how many pasties we would go.
And then you sent me like 3 or 4 pasties.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, sure.
It was funny. There was one that had emojis on it.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah, we were talking about different angles.
No, we were going to do emojis.
Yeah.
But then we're like, those copywritten.
Exactly.
We have to clear those.
Because emojis would be perfect, being that this character is all about the internet.
It would have been perfect.
And then the conversation progressed to, well, what am I wearing downstairs?
And we won't
talk about it.
It's a mystery.
Oh, is that what we're keeping secret?
It's a mystery.
So you have to watch This Is Meg to find out the answer to that. But it was a good conversation because I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. You know, my thought on it was, okay, I'll do whatever you want to make your project as great as possible because that's my job.
Well, and I tell you, it's a rare thing to get from. I think that's a big trust issue too. I think that it's a rare thing to get that from an actor that's willing to do whatever.
But did they ask you like who's directing this?
I told them who, but it really, honestly, Alex, they know if I'm bringing somebody, they're going to be great.
So it was trust.
Like, it really was.
So you were basically Al Pacino in, in Donnie Brasco. He's a good guy.
No, it's cool. We trust Jill. But, here's the thing about the request. If it had been gratuitous or like,
of course.
But because it's comedic, of course, I'm hands down anytime for the joke. Or if it wasn't, if it was like a drama or something, and there was a reason, then yeah, why not? I mean, who cares really? At the end of the day, it's about the project and what you're trying to get across.
Bathing suits. It's the same thing. Like you're in a bathing suit.
Well, yeah, sort of.
Kind of joke. Can you stretch it?
All right. Okay. But Holly, yeah.
What do you guys think? What was your?
Well, I knew Jill would be there, so I get to improvise with Jill. So there's a safety there. And I always enjoy when people give suggestions. Try it this way. Throw this in. So I was looking forward to it. It's almost like a fun... I'm an actress. I love acting. So it was like, oh boy, I get to do it. And with my friend, we'll improvise. And if the director will throw things, try it this way, do this. So I was looking forward to it and excited. And that was really happening. And I think I always know nothing happens till it happens. In this town.
Yeah. How many times do we get those calls? Like, hey, I got this thing.
Or even once it's shot, like, okay, now we shot this thing.
6 years later,
no one's ever gonna see that, So I wasted a few hours of my day. Let's see what happens after that.
I know. After we shot it, you were saying like all your friends were surprised that we finished it as quickly as we did.
And I remember after I shot my scene, you were excited. I think Lahna had just shot, and you showed me an edited version. And I was like, did they just do this yesterday? And it's edited. I was like, wow, bam, bam, bam.
But then here we are at Cinequest. So like it really is a huge accomplishment because a lot of people talk all day long about their ideas nonstop. And then sometimes they do get it to a point, but you got it not only to fruition, but also into this great festival. And here we are having a blast.
Yeah. And it's raining out.
San Jose,
California.
It rains and it stops raining. I'm like, we feel like we're in Miami.
It's pretty much.
I think it's interesting because it's like when you were mentioning, it's like we didn't know each other, but but it didn't really matter because the truth of the matter is there's so much content being made. Also, like if something doesn't work, then just nobody sees it.
Right.
I mean, like that's
a great way of looking at this.
Yeah, and
it's not like the 80s. Like if we make it, it's going to be out released in theater, and you're screwed.
Right. Yeah. That does not happen anymore. There's so much content that if it's not good, it just goes away. Right. And if it's good, people see it. Right. So if you're like,
that's a great attitude.
Yeah,
it's
true. Right. So you're like, you're like, hey, we want to come over to your place and like film some stuff and buy you lunch and have you talk to Jill. okay. And if it's good, great. Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, that's kind of like the thought process that I have about everything. You know?
Right, just kind of flow with it.
Yeah, sure. Kid, come on over. Bring a camera. Go to the universe, and if it's good, people will watch.
You remember we talked on the phone?
Yeah.
Because maybe Alex wants to talk to you because maybe I was the one you had actually sort of precast before.
It's the only one I really.
We talked on the phone, and it's so weird with people. I can usually tell, even without meeting someone, like within the first 30 seconds, if they're a Star Wars fan. You can just in their voice or something.
Criteria.
There's something they say, and I knew right away, like, this guy likes Star Wars. We already have this, we're already there.
And if you like Star Wars, you're not altogether bad.
Right. You can't be a bad person, right?
Most people like Star Wars.
Alex starts all conversation like, you I happy to meet.
I'm like, oh, he's a good guy. He's good.
He's a good guy.
I think I might have got the job.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
As I moved the life-size Yoda away from where we were shooting.
Right.
And you know what's funny too? I remember saying, and when we were shooting, that your logo. I said, is this a minion in a soft film? And you're like, actually, no, that's my logo.
Yeah.
Because it looks like if you look at
a robot. Yeah.
it looks like a minion was like in a soft film, towards you.
I like to think it's Optimus Prime and Iron Giant's
What is this?
illegitimate.
This is your logo?
Is that what's in the background?
That's my logo.
It looks like a minion wearing a Boba Fett helmet.
Yeah, I thought.
Wow. Does that make sense? Do you see
Everyone sees what they want to see in my logo for my company. Yes.
Hilarious. So I mean, here's the thing I think about Star Wars is that most people like Star Wars on some level, but if you smell somebody who doesn't like Star Wars, then is that like the deal breaker?
I don't.
I mean, it's a deal breaker. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm married to one.
Well, I think
She enjoys it. She watched it once.
Oh no.
She will not watch them again. She's not a sci-fi person in general, but I've worked my daughters in, so she will be punished for the rest of her life now.
It's just a great story. I don't even think
I know it's difficult to comprehend.
It's the Bible. That's
I
all
understand.
It is.
I tell this story all the time. When I first met her, I do have a life-size Yoda in my house.
Which I love.
Yeah,
No, it's so cool. You saw it.
Yeah,
It's
so I have my Yoda.
Who doesn't have a life-size?
I mean, seriously.
do, I tell you.
So I had my Yoda, and when we first started dating, this was my like you can tell. My first thing was like, look, before we invite you over, I just gotta let you know I have a life-size Yoda in my house. Because that's like, I can tell right there if this relationship's really gonna work or not.
Yeah.
If you're like completely grossed out, this is probably not gonna work out.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's a Yoda?
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's worse.
no, because it's raw. You can mold.
trainable.
It's trainable. It's
Yeah.
trainable. And she comes from another country, so she's Colombian. I'm like, but she knew what's like. You know what Star? She's like, I know of it. I've just never seen it because I'm not into sci-fi. I'm like, all right, great. So she comes over and she looks at him and she's like, okay, he's cool. All right, fine. And she saw past all that. Then she's on her phone with a friend of hers. And she's like, I'm dating this guy, and he's got this green old lady in the corner of his house. I think her name is Joda. And then there's silence on the phone, and he goes, you will refer to him as Master Yoda. She's like, you too, my God, you're everywhere.
That's so funny. So what's your wife's favorite movie? Like, what would be?
This is Meg.
This is Meg, obviously. But after This is Meg, she's not a cinephile. My wife is completely different than me, so we completely balance
Right, that's why I'm
ourselves.
like curious to know.
She enjoys like Shawshank, and she enjoys
murder movies.
No, but she.
Shawshank's one of the top 5 of all time.
It is,
really
yeah.
great. It is.
Yeah, I mean, so like she'll enjoy those kind of movies, but she doesn't have like a movie believe it or not, she used to love white chicks.
Oh,
like she
really?
fucking
Oh my
pissed
gosh.
herself with white chicks.
That's so funny.
Like fucking pissed herself with
silly
white chicks.
funny.
Yeah, she'll watch that, but like she doesn't like slapstick. But for whatever godforsaken reason, she pisses herself with white chicks. But things like that. But she doesn't. Die Hard. She loves Die Hard. Loves Die. So she can't be all bad.
Yeah, so it's all random.
John Wick?
Yeah.
Do you like John Wick?
No, she didn't get into John Wick that much.
Really?
No, Die Hard, but she loves Die Hard. Lethal Weapon, she likes. She likes 80s action.
80s action.
She'll dig.
What is
Predator.
Are
She
you
loves
guys going to
Predator.
do another film?
As far as
Like after this, are going to be a This Is Make follow up, or are you guys going to do something?
Well, we did my stand-up special.
well, we did Jill's stand-up special, which is in my hard drives right now.
Yes.
Sitting cooking.
Yes,
cooking right now.
We'll attack that probably the end of March.
End of March sometime. Yeah, we'll start
We're
working.
going to see who called This Is Eric.
It'll actually.
This is Al. This is
Series of them involved.
When you're editing her special, it's going to be kind of reflective on the scene where she's editing for her.
Yeah,
it's very meta.
Guys, it's funny because there's a scene in This Is Meg where she's editing her stand-up. And so, will you be back in that same room?
Yes.
That is our. That's my
You
right.
might
It is.
have
Wow.
the exact same scene just play out. Like I've seen this 5,000 times. It's like,
and I'm like, do you have another angle?
yeah,
Do you
I
have
don't know
another
how many more angles I can get.
Do you know how crazy? Because before, most people that came over to watch the movie was in my office.
Yeah.
So when that scene comes up, it's like, wow, we're in the movie.
Yeah,
we're watching the movie. We're in the
Surreal.
movie. It's like really weird and meta.
That is really good.
It is.
That is pretty cool.
So after this, we're doing Jill's stand-up special. We're hopefully going to be launching the movie in iTunes in the summer.
Nice.
And that's when we're going to plan to release it. And we're doing a whole cross promotion with Distribber. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. Who's a partner of ours that's going to be putting
What
it
is
in.
it called?
Distribber.
Okay.
Distribber allows you to...
Distribution
No, they're not a distribution company. What they are is an aggregator. So if you want to get any movie into iTunes, Netflix, Hulu, you can't directly go to them unless you personally have a contact there. But generally speaking, they don't just like off the street.
It costs money, right? You have to
It does cost money, but the thing is with them, they do a package deal of like 10 platforms for like $4 or $5,000, and you only pay if you get in. And if you don't get into the platforms, you get refunded like I think 85% of your fee. So you only pay like basically it's $125 to submit to iTunes or to submit to Netflix and give it a shot. So it's not that big of it's like basically a film festival.
Film festival, yeah.
So
Isn't it amazing? I find it so cool. Like nowadays, anybody can really make a project and then
Yes.
put it out to the world. It doesn't
Yes.
take what it used to be. And the formula is completely changed in entertainment.
And I think also what you're gearing to also, because when we sat down, we really geared this as a real true indie. We didn't look at it like it's independent from the studios and it's an $18 million budget. We were like, no, this is a real indie. How can we utilize it? We know it's not going to be a huge theatrical release. We're not going towards that kind of, it's not an Avengers. It's not whatever. So how can we target this, make it for as little as we can to make it look as great as we can and get a return on it. So that's really, it was like from the top, like he had a marketing strategy. Alex had, this is our marketing strategy. And I was like, okay, let's go. And we studied these certain types of films that were towards that kind of goal. And it's happening. It really is. It was a whole game plan from the start.
Yeah, I mean, the big for me at least, before I called Jill, the biggest inspiration for me to even do this was Mark Duplass, Joe Swanberg, those kind of movies that these guys would just kind of grab, a few grand and grab a bunch of their friends and go make a movie and then just release it. So like Joe Swanberg did like 6 features in 1 year, and he just kept popping them out, and he's got like 35 features under his belt. And Duplass Brothers did the same thing, and they're like, they're huge now. And Duplass Brothers are very big as well, and so that's what my goal was. I was like, well, I can do that because I had much more experience than they did when they started. They literally had no experience when I started. I mean, I had a lot more resources at my disposal. So why can't I do that? And then I have someone like Jill, and then Jill brings in her friends, and then I bring in my friends, and we put it all together. And that's why it moves so quickly. Yeah. I mean, we've all been in projects. And these don't go. You don't have an idea in May and you have a final product in August. It doesn't work. And then you're in Cinequest a few months later. Like, it does not work that way, generally speaking. But because all engines were running full force and we knew exactly where we were going, and that's why on the set we never had problems. It was like, I remember you were saying I think you told Jill, like, this is so easy. This is so much fun.
Right, it was a wonderful
It was just like, there's no stress on the set. I'm like, but there's no stress because there was 3 people on the set. There's that as well.
And we got everybody in and out as quickly as possible. There was
you were there half day, right? Yeah.
Right.
We did you first part of the day. I think we did.
Yeah.
That was super easy.
Yeah.
But I'm curious also, so you pay the money, you get it distributed on these different outlets, but then how does it not get buried in the sea of stuff that's already on those places as well?
So that's the biggest mistake that a lot of filmmakers make when they're going to release a film. let's say they're going to do a digital release. First and foremost, to make money selling your film online, it is difficult. It's no question about it. So if you have a $500,000 budget film and you think you're going to go down the self-release plan, you better have a really big audience, a really clear understanding of how to deal in digital marketing and things like that, because it's just it's almost impossible. I have a success story of a movie that they made for, I think they crowdfunded it, $1.2 million. They crowdfunded. But it was called Range 15, and I'm dying to get them on the show. But it was called Range 15. They wanted to make a comedy zombie movie, and they basically are ex-military. They're all vets, and they run probably like the biggest apparel company for vets out there. And they have a huge YouTube show that they do, but it's all like really kind of rinky-dinky kind of stuff, nothing high production value at all.
Also big budget too.
Right, but they like, you know what, let's try to crowdfund our audience.
And they raise that kind of money?
Because their audience is extremely loyal and they know who their audience is. So they like, our audience wants us to make this movie. Mm-hmm. So they got 1.2 million, then they got some stars in it. They had Sean Astin, they have William Shatner, they had, I think, Keith David in it, Danny Trejo, because he's in all movies. So I think we have Danny in our movie somewhere, I just don't know where. But they went off, and then after they made the movie, which cost them nothing because they crowdfunded it all, then they're like, okay, let's go down to distributors. And they went all through all the studios, and all the studios and all the distributors did the same thing. They're like, oh, we're going to give you the standard deal. And they're like, well, we're bringing the audience. Why would I give you 50% or 60% or 40% of my money? Like, it didn't make any sense to them. So they're like, we're just going to self-distribute it. And then they distributed themselves through distributor. And I think they just broke 7 figures a little while ago. And but it's all them. And they actually, their distribution plan is what we're going to do. But what they did was they actually were able to get to the number 2 spot on iTunes and stay there for weeks.
How were they able to facilitate that?
So
through their fan base? Or?
Well, not only through their fan base, but what you do is, and I'm going to talk about all of this later. We're actually going to do an entire documentary on how I released Meg.
Oh, wow.
To show everybody the entire process of it with distributor, and we're working as partners on it. So, because I actually went down to their offices, they sat me down in the conference room, and they showed me the entire distribution plan. And they're like, this is what worked for Range 15. And I think this is what most filmmakers should do. And they're like, we want this information out there because we want all of our filmmakers to be successful. Because the more they make and the more happy they are, we'll get more business. And we just want to help filmmakers. That's why they opened the business. Nick, the CEO, he was screwed by distributors. So he's like, fuck it, I'm going to open my own thing out. So what the plan is when filmmakers release a film, they'll digitally, they'll go through like 5 platforms. So they'll do Google Play, they'll do Amazon, they'll do iTunes, and that's all TVOD, which is transactional video on demand. And then there's SVOD, which is subscription based, which is Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon at the moment. So they'll release it in 5 platforms in TVOD first. And then what happens is you dilute your audience. So you make no impact in any one platform. So their plan was, we're going to focus all our energy on iTunes because iTunes is the largest TVOD. So you focus all your energy on that. And if you can get, and this is off the record kind of stuff, but if you can get 300 to 500 transactions in the first day, meaning rentals or purchases, you'll get in the top 10 of your category. So that way you're already out of the weeds. If you're able to get 2,000 to 3,000 transactions in the first day, you might be able to crack the top 10. And if you crack the top 10 of iTunes, then you start being found by people that have no idea who you're
searchable.
because the traffic is so high. So the way they actually laid it out is like, you're here are all the fish up top, the salmon are running up there, but you need to get your bait up there so they can see it. So until that's the key. So again, for you to make a lot of money on it, it's hard.
Doesn't bait go down?
Jojo, stop it. So that's the plan. We're going to focus all of our energies on the one day and the one platform first, and then we see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we split it out to the other ones right away.
Right.
And then we are going to submit to Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, see if anyone bites on it, and see if that happens. Because if any of them pick it up, that would be great. But you do that 3 months after TVOD. So you don't want it, because if you go to, like, if you put up on YouTube right away, you're done. you've shot yourself in the foot. You can't really sell it unless your end game is to get exposure, to get clicks.
You're looking at me directly because of Limeade.
Yes, we had a conversation about
last night about Limeade.
But that's the thing, and I always ask people when people ask me about distribution, I'm like, what's your end game?
Right.
Is your end game to make money, or is the end game to get attention?
So for your audience, I have a project out that I just want attention.
Yeah, right.
And it's a visual album called Limeade, much like Beyonce's Lemonade. It's just a 10-song comedy visual album, and it's awesome. And I could have made money on it because of the production value is so high.
If you would have talked to me prior to releasing it, I would have given you my advice of trying to get it out to monetize, if that's even an interest to you first, and then you will it out in a few months into
the monetization of that project. The only reason why I would want to put it on those other platforms is that it would give other people in those areas an opportunity to view it, and that's all. Because I just want, it's my gift to the world. I want people to be able to find it and love it,
right.
and know the songs and know the content, and then come out and I'll do it live for you. That's my goal.
So that's the.
Should I still put it on those other?
Absolutely,
because it costs
it's just
so
another
much money though to put it.
Well, it all depends on what you want to do. So if you put it on, first of all, you can put it on Amazon. I think you're going to put it on.
Yeah, it's going to be on Amazon.
So if you put it up on iTunes, it's going to cost you $900. So that's advertising. If you think you can do any dent in iTunes, or if you have a big search, people searching for you in iTunes, it's great.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
So it all depends on what your end game is, but that's the thing that filmmakers in general always have to find out. What's your end game? Do you want to make money, or do you want to get it out there?
Right.
And if you want to get it out there, put it up on YouTube and just
focus
everybody on
iTunes,
YouTube.
Can you put it up for free on iTunes?
No, not for free.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm already offering it for free, so I don't want anyone to have to pay for it.
Well, that's the difference too, because a lot of people like the convenience of their platform. So you have to also take that into consideration, because if they have an Apple TV and they want iTunes and they just want to see it on iTunes, and they'll pay 99 cents, and they won't care.
Right.
So I have stuff on multiple different platforms, and sometimes they pay, sometimes they get it for free, sometimes they rent it. It just depends.
Yeah, well, maybe honestly, I can see a lot of people who are fans of the content wanting to support it because they know it.
Correct. And there's that too. Then you have a fan base.
Right.
So because you have a fan base, they want to help you. They want to love you. They want to support you in what your art is. And I think that you should take advantage of that. Not in a bad way, but hey, they want to help you. Why not take the money?
Yeah.
Why not help you to continue making more art?
Right.
So we went off on tangent a little bit on the distribution aspect of things, but
not really. It's not related.
But everyone else is quiet and checking their phone, so I want to bring everyone back in. Ruben's sleeping. Sorry, Ruben.
It's been a long. It's been we had a lot of fun last night, so we're all a little groggy.
That's right.
What's fun is code for we had a lot of drinks last night.
Yeah.
and surprisingly decent sushi.
Yeah.
In San Jose.
That was actually really good.
Decent sushi in San Jose. So what's your experience been like at Cinequest for you guys?
Well, it's thrilling. It's thrilling to be able to see what you guys did and what we did on a big screen. Yeah. That was really, really cool because we had the initial viewing party, and that was a large screen. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's really neat. But it was so cool. We were sitting in the back row of this theater, and you're just larger than life with everything. I'm sitting next to Jill. I'm just keep touching her. Oh my God, you look beautiful. Oh, you look so pretty in that scene. It was really fun.
I wanted to ask you guys, what was your first impression when you saw the movie? Each of you, because each of you had the very first time you saw it. What was your impression of it? Ruben?
It was shot well. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, wow, this is.
I don't know to be insulted or
no, not that. But I meant you've all, and this is never with Jill, but your friends come up, they want you to the movie, right. And then you're like, yeah. You never know the production value of what it's going to be, and until you see the final product, I'm like, wow, this is really lit well. It looks it looks
expensive.
It looks really expensive. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm like, wow, this looks like a
just shot in a guy's back room.
Right, it looks really good. So that was my very first thought.
And then after you fell asleep after the first 15 minutes.
And then
That's it.
after my scenes, I was like, I'm boring.
I always like to see when my friends do projects, and sometimes people will send you a link to something, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna watch. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it, and I really want to like this because I don't want to have to go, oh, it was great, you know. And I really liked it. I was really proud to be part of this, and it's super exciting, and that's a good thing. You know, oh, you did a good job. I can't believe I'm in that piece of shit.
Joe?
You know, being involved in production as well, like you, and used to making my own projects and doing my own thing a lot of the time. To be involved in something that I know was shot over such a short period of time for so little money, and to see it on the screen and work as well as it did was a pleasant surprise. You know what I mean? You sit there and you're like, that's an accomplishment. I mean, like, you know, it's a really good group of actors who all came together to make a project that I'm really proud of at the end of the day. And we know, and want to tell people, I'm like, this thing was made, you know, with very little, over very little time.
Under $25 million.
Yeah.
We'll release the budget after our audit is done.
Yes. but I mean, like, but honestly, it's like, you know, it speaks volumes for the project that it rises above and beyond the amount of, you know, because you know the magic triangle, right? It's like, you know, it comes down to like
Fast, good, or cheap.
Yep, fast, good, or cheap.
Any two of the three you want.
Right. And the thing is like this got all three, and that's a very rare thing to see happen.
It really is, actually. I never thought of it that way. It was fast, good, and cheap. It was actually,
and that breaks the rule for me. And I tell people that triangle all the time, and I tell people it's important to be aware it's difficult to do this, to do something fast, good, and cheap, and that this thing was that, and it makes me extremely proud of it.
Oh, thank you.
And same thing. I'm so proud to be in it. Watching it up on the big screen was like, wow, this is amazing that these guys got all their friends together and did it. And also that we didn't see the whole script and just the scenes. And I think when I saw the whole thing put together, Jill never told me anything.
Yeah, like I didn't know how it was going to end.
Right. I knew she was working really hard. I wasn't seeing her much, but I didn't know what was happening. So to see it all together, I was like, oh my God, this is such a good movie and it's a great story. And to see all her friends that she got together, that really everyone was so good and brought so much to the table, improvised so well within the structure and looked beautiful. And it's a project I agree I'm proud to be a part of and am excited to tell people about.
And it's an interesting thing, too, because you sit there and you take a look at the project, and so many Hollywood stories are self-indulgent. They really, you know, I mean, we all have friends who are like, I wrote a script. It's about trying to be an actress in Hollywood. You know, it's like, I wrote a script about trying to make a movie. It's like, we all know that.
On paper, this is a horrible pitch.
That's right.
It's a horrible pitch.
Yes, and you sit there and you're just like, it's like everybody I know has at least one of these scripts on their shelf. And the fact that, you know, last night at the screening, that woman came up and she goes, I really feel that the story is universal. Says a lot about the project because it goes beyond the backdrop of it being a Hollywood story and goes to like something of much more a human interest story, and I think that's great.
And you know, also too, the guy who was the Cinequest, the volunteer afterwards, like gave like the best compliment for an improviser is like it was just scripted, right? To think that it wasn't improvised, that everything was scripted was like the best.
And I backed it up with, you know, after Ruben had mentioned that, I was like, that's because we're all professionals. And I think that, you know, especially for the listeners out there, the reason why we were able to get the whole triangle is because everybody's so professional. Everyone brought their A game. We know how to listen. We know how to, a lot of improvisers that are new will talk over each other. And because we knew how to listen, they really believed that every word was written. And that was like an honor. And I looked at them and went, that's them. You know, it's
and it
like,
wasn't easy to cut.
No.
It was not easy to edit that together, guys.
We learned a lot. But I will say this. I feel like this is a beautiful, unique quality, and I want to at least address to everybody my gratitude, because I know that without Alex, this couldn't have been done. Without you, Ruben, it couldn't be done. Without Holly, without Lahna, without Joe, without Jenica, without Carlos, with the other Carlos, with, you know, with Rourke, it couldn't have, it was Sean, it couldn't have been done. Everybody's elements made this project. So there's an appreciation there. And I feel like a lot of filmmakers, when they have something beautiful, they get cocky and they move on thinking that they can go off and do it now again. And it's not. It's a dynamic. It's a trust bond. And I just have to say thank you to that, because that's why Meg is so beautiful. And you're right, on paper, people are like, oh God. But they see it and they go, there's so much heart in this film. And like even my sister, when she watched it, she's like, I really was watching it because it was just you. She's like, but that kind of storyline doesn't really interest me. She goes, but Jill, my God, it related to so much. She's a teacher. She goes, I feel that way at work. You don't understand, even with social media, what they're making us do as teachers. She's like, I don't want to do all that stuff. I just want to teach the kids. Like, and now they're like making them do live, things.
Facebook feeds.
Yes. And she's as a teacher.
That's ridiculous.
And so it's relatable to so many people. I don't know how we could change the pitch, but we are doing it. Like, do you ever feel stuck in life? And it's like that feeling of, you can't just go, oh, screw you to everybody, and hey, everybody does everything for you, but then you're not like, a nobody trying to struggle. You're like in this in between, kind of like the observer, like, oh, what's going on?
I think the final, like, one of the things, I think that one of the reasons that the project was a success is everyone did what they said they were going to do.
Yeah,
and that's so rare in this business. Like, people always say, oh yeah, I'll come over, oh yeah, I'll do this, right? But everybody across the board, if you asked to do a job, you did it. And we kept going, and there was trust involved.
And Jill, as the writer, put together a great story and a great cast of characters to tell the story.
I think the point of this podcast today is just don't go see This Is Meg.
Honestly, don't see it. It's not really worth it.
Everyone dies anyway.
It all implodes. It's bullshit. Guys, it's so much fun hanging out with you at this festival. It's been just a delight. For me, it was a night away. I got to sleep in this morning. If anything came out of this whole film is that I got to go to San Jose and actually sleep in for 2 hours without getting woken up by kids. So thank you, Jill Michelle. Guys, I always ask everybody where they can find you online.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just go around really quick. Tell me where social media, like, or whatever. Because you guys got to look up everyone.
And by the way, I've had this conversation with Ruben, so prepare yourself.
Yes, I didn't think the internet was going to last. I thought it was a fad, so I didn't want to jump on that train.
So Ruben, not.
So I'm on Facebook. I am on Facebook, and I thought I did it. I'm there, but I guess there's a lot more other than Facebook.
So the irony of you telling Meg that she needs to be on social media is very ironic.
Again.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Again, yes, very much.
Hilarious.
But Ruben Dario.
Ruben Dario on Facebook. Yes,
Right, I'm Holly Wortell. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I
that's Wortell with 2 L's.
That's right.
Yes.
And I teach improv and comedy as well in Hollywood and Chicago.
Yeah. Well, you guys know me.
Jill Michelle.
Okay.
Jilly Online.
Jill Michelle Meleán, Jilly Online. Okay.
This is Meg.com, everything.
Yes.
Most of my stuff can be found at blackanaldestroy.com.
What's that other website that you own?
I actually own blackanaldestroy.com.
The other one.
Joe Ugly is where I can be found at most social media. Joseph David Reitman on Facebook.
His number is 555.
I'll put his address in the show notes.
Well, for my listeners, it's Lahna Turner, LAHNATURNER. And for the Indie Film Hustle listeners, you guys are film fans. What I want you guys to do is get online and go and find Lahna Turner and look up Limeade, because you will love it. As film fans, I'm so proud of that. So please go check that out and share it. And I always end my podcast by saying thank you guys so much for listening to the Perfect 10 podcast. Go tell 10 people, and we'll see you next week.
And as far as I'm concerned, for the Perfect 10 podcast, you can reach me at indiefilmhustle.com if you guys want to know a little bit more about filmmaking and the process of filmmaking. If you got a project out there, it's definitely something you should listen to. So thank you guys for listening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. We're all in a hotel room together. Yeah.
And we're getting naked. Bye-bye. As fun as that sounded, it actually was that fun to record. It was such a great trip to Cinequest, and I can't tell you, I had a ball with those guys, and I cannot wait for the LA premiere of This Is Meg. And we are in talks with a couple festivals. We'll see what happens, but we will be having a big LA premiere, so everybody here in the LA area or close by can come out, and we'll probably have almost all the cast, if not all the cast, show up to that screening. And believe me, these guys are so funny. I just had such a ball with them shooting This Is Meg, as well as the adventures at Cinequest. And I just wanted to tell you guys something. You guys have been on this journey with me since basically since the beginning. Before we even had an idea for This Is Meg, I was talking about making a movie. And I just wanted to kind of show you guys that it's doable. It is extremely doable to go out, follow your dream, make a movie, not bankrupt yourself, and go out and do it. Now, I use the resources I have. Obviously, I have post-production. I had a good friend, Jill, where she called up her friends who are amazing actors. But you have to do it within your resource set. I mean, El Mariachi, he had his friend. He had a friend, and he had a few friends, some guns, a Mexican town. He made El Mariachi. Robert Rodriguez did. Kevin Smith had a bunch of his friends shot in a convenience store. You don't need big stars. You don't need established actors. You can go out and do it. So I wanted to prove to you guys that it can be done. And I didn't break the bank doing it. And it is, the budget is under $25 million. So, but it is doable, and you can go out and make your movie, and don't think so much about it. Just get up and go, I'm going to go make a movie, and use, if you want to go down the same techniques that I did with a scriptment, and get a really good improv actors, which I guarantee you, if you go down to a comedy improv class, or talk to a few of them somewhere locally in your area, you'll probably find very receptive actors and comedians who would love to do something like this. If this is the road you want to go down, or you can go down the Mark Duplass road, which they're not comedians and they're not improv actors, but it just kind of works out because it's real and you find good actors who can improv. So it is a way of doing it. It's not the only way of doing it, but it is a way of doing it, and it kind of gets the ball rolling. So by doing This Is Meg, I've been able to get the ball rolling on my feature directing career, and I stopped waiting around for other people to tell me what I can and cannot do. So guys, please, if you're listening to this, it is possible, it is doable. Get up and go make your movie. All right? And I'm going to show you guys the entire process of what I'm going to do with This Is Meg, as far as marketing, as far as distributing it ourselves, self-distributing it. And I'm going to be as transparent as I can be with how successful we are or unsuccessful we are with the film. And, Meg has been an experiment since the beginning. So let's see what happens. But I'm going to show you, if we're going to keep going down the road with me, you will learn what happens. And I already got 2 other features that I'm planning to do this year. I know I'm going to get at least one made this year. Don't know how yet. Same as I said last year. But I'm going to keep that train going. And the one last thing I want to tell you guys is, the game of waiting for someone to give you permission or waiting for someone to give you the opportunity to follow your dream is very difficult and very heartbreaking, because you're putting your dreams, your career in someone else's hands. And you're not taking control of your own career, whether you're a writer, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're an actor. It's very difficult to put your dreams in someone else's hands. And as you know, if anyone's ever been in a relationship, sometimes your heart does get broken. And I got tired of my heart getting broken by this business. So I said, screw it. I'm going to take everything in my hands, and I'm just going to go do my thing. And if opportunities present themselves, great. If they don't, I've got my plan, and I'm going to just keep going down this road. And we'll let the chips fall where they may. But at least I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm able to maintain myself. I'm able to support my family by doing all the other things that I do. I didn't quit my day job doing it. But I'm just going to keep down this road, and I guarantee you good things will happen eventually. That's the way I look at it. And if the good thing that happens is that I get 5 or 10 features, 20 features under my belt in the next 10 years, and I'm able to do all sorts of good things with Indie Film Hustle, great. But if I get called for the next Marvel movie, I'll be excited too. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, I hope this was inspirational to you. And we got some cool stuff coming up in the next few episodes, or in the next month or two as far as episodes are concerned. I got some amazing guests lined up. So don't forget to head over to the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/146. And I'll have links to all the actors, their personal home addresses. No, I'm joking. But you get all their Facebooks and Twitter and social media outlets, so you guys can follow them and see what other projects they have going on in the future. And don't forget to head over to freefilmbook.com. That's freefilmbook.com to download your free filmmaking or screenwriting audiobook from Audible. As always, guys, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.